Hello, seekers, and welcome to this Jupiter and Capricorn discussion. We are going to cover all things the planet of expansion in the grounded, focused sign of Capricorn. And I'm sure there's a split range of emotions around Jupiter moving into Capricorn between all of you. I know there's a split of opinion when it comes to this transit, and if it's something that's bringing in a lot of positivity or if it's something that's bringing in a lot of challenge. And I would say that it brings in both with purpose. So Jupiter has been cozy and happy at home in Sagittarius most of 2019. It's leaving Sagittarius and moving into Capricorn on December 3rd and staying in Capricorn until December 18th, 2020. There will be a retrograde of Jupiter from May 14th, 2020 until it goes direct again September 13th, 2020. Jupiter does that every year, and right now that does tend to happen in those summer months in the Northern Hemisphere. But, Jupiter has been cozy in Sagittarius. It rules Sagittarius, that expansive, curious, playful, no-holds-barred kind of energy. It has been really expansive. Now, what's really interesting about that is if you have a lot of prominent Sagittarius in your chart, personally, I'm a Sagittarius rising. I know a lot of Sagittarius suns in my life. If you have a lot of ninth house or you have a lot of action going on in Sagittarius, this year could have felt almost like a shredding process or like a really uncomfortable growth process. I know a lot of Sagittarius actually had kind of an intense year. It wasn't all just like roses and sunshine and happiness and optimism. And I think that is the shadow side of it, having such expansive energy in its home sign of expansion. It's not, expanding everything all the time can be very exhausting. It demands that we do not stay in old comfortable routines. It demands that we are always shaking things up. That idea of stability isn't very strong when Jupiter is in Sagittarius and is going through its home sign. It's all about getting the bigger picture. It's all about trying new things. It's all about adventure. It's all about curiosity. And I love those things. Personally, for me, this year has been one of the most amazing years, but I had to lean into the changes that came and trust into them and not resist too much. And with that came a lot of the amazing adventure that I wanted to have. But because Jupiter is so much about expansion, he's so much about zooming out and looking at this bigger, wild picture of life, putting everything into perspective, learning how to tell a narrative arc story of your life that's not about all the nitty-gritty details, but it's kind of that ability to zoom out and say, look at how this arc has unfolded. It has taken off some of those self-limiting beliefs. It has taken off some of those strictures that we have placed on ourselves, but that can also leave us feeling very confused and foggy about where we are on that big vision arc, right? We can kind of be like, I guess there's a big vision arc, but I'm still here in my consciousness and my body, trying to figure out where I am in that umbrella picture. I can't always tap into the Jupiterian way of seeing adventure in life. And so, where I'm going with this is that at the end of Jupiter being in Sagittarius, while there is a bittersweetness to it because it has been so fun, it has been so illuminating, it has been so playful, it has been so curiosity driven, it has shaken things up, it has gotten things moving. I think we are, timing is always right. And I think that Jupiter moving on to Capricorn, which, this happens every time we have Jupiter move to Sagittarius and then it goes to Capricorn. There's a reason for that. And there's a reason it works. And so there is this sense of almost relief, honestly, with Jupiter moving into Capricorn. And I say that because, so we had all this expansion energy, right? Dream big, shake things up, jolt things. This is fiery energy. This is all about giving. It's all about amplifying. It's all about trying. It's all about shaking things up. And yes, setting fire to things. There is a destructive element to the expansiveness of Jupiter. So there can be destruction with that, even though it's a benefic planet and it's comfortable in Sagittarius. All of that's been happening, and now it's time to take those pieces and make a path, forge a path, and commit. And the key words that come up for Jupiter moving through Capricorn are these. These are the words that came to me as I was feeling through this energy. Commitment, focus, intention, investment, choice. Life is all about balance. So as much as it's super important to be open-minded and curious and playful and not set in your ways and not set on just one path, and to let yourself move and morph with the way that things move, we also have times in life where we have to make choices and make investments and choose a path, and if we don't make those choices, sometimes we don't end up doing anything, right? Or we end up not going on either of the paths that maybe we're thinking about, or any of the paths that maybe we're thinking about, and just stay still. So it's interesting because Jupiter is actually in fall in Capricorn. So every planet has a sign of exaltation and a sign of fall. And exaltation, Jupiter really loves being in Cancer, which I kind of love that so much. So anybody who has Jupiter in Cancer or has a fourth house placement of their Jupiter has that planet is really strong. So it means that Jupiter has that ability to give, like, open, expand, light, playful, very giving, very nurturing energy. It's very supportive. Now, that's where the critics of this transit and the ones that are skeptical and a little worried about this transit come in, because Jupiter is in fall in Capricorn. Jupiter isn't comfortable in Capricorn, right? The planet of restriction in the sign of groundedness and focus and discipline is going to be like, does not feel as voluminous, right? Well, and that's the logic that goes behind people who are a little less excited about this transit. However, here's the thing. It's understanding the mechanism at work when you take something like Jupiter's expansiveness, and I always think about Jupiter as kind of like a really big spotlight, which is why sometimes I think that transit can feel a little bit heavy if it's spotlighting on you. If you have a lot of Sag energy and you have the spotlight showing you everything that needs to shift or change, or showing you where you're uncomfortable, it's not always going to be easy. But you have Jupiter shining a spotlight on this Capricorn energy. And that is about where we find security, where we find joy in choosing to show fully up to something and to really commit our energy and our resources to it, to feel that we are grounded, that we are investing in our root system. And so Jupiter is still positive. So even though it's working in a sign that it's not naturally flowing with, right? They are having a dialogue though. And that dialogue is really important, because I think we often think, oh, it's time for discipline. It's time to do the things that don't light my soul on fire. It's time to focus on the parts of my life that are really devoid of joy. And this, having Jupiter in this part of the sky and this energetic placement, means that what we're getting there is a jolt of optimistic energy when it comes to financial planning. The way that we show up to our physical resources, the way we show up to our life choices. And I think we need to tap into a place of joy within those places, because that's where we get true empowerment. We don't get empowerment from just those highs, those celebratory highs. Those are really fun. It's great to ride those waves. Let's have fun with it. But empowerment is about finding joy in those spaces that are a little deeper, a little darker, maybe a little uncomfortable. And I think the greatest empowerment and the greatest sense of contentment lies in knowing that you can show up to this more structured part of your life with a sense of clarity and purpose. And that is where Jupiter is really helping us. And if you kind of want to look at the way that Jupiter works, he's been in Sag, giving us all, blasting things open, giving us all of these open doors. And, we're not just talking about like easy open doors, but just lots of new ways of thinking about what you want to do next, who you want to be next, maybe some surprises about what that's looking like, giving you all these paths, giving you all these new tools. And then it moves into Capricorn, and it's like, okay, what are you going to choose to really nurture and build on this year? I'll help you. I'll help you. I will help you get it done. I will help you make those footfalls on the path that work with you. But the trick with that is you have to choose. You have to commit to the things that feel right to you, even if they're scary, even if you think you're not ready yet, right? You're going to have to commit some energy. You're going to have to invest energetically, soulfully, emotionally in the things that really click with you. Then you will get help from this transit. However, if you are kind of resistant to that, and you are trying to put any of these kind of deeper, richer things, like really taking time and healing your relationship to money, healing your relationship to the physical world, healing your relationship to your physical body. There's a lot of ways this can play out depending on where it is in your chart, in your house placements. It will affect you differently. Obviously, it's not going to be one size fits all, but this is a chance for you to really lock into those things and find joy in them. But if you're resisting that and you want to keep being floaty, you might find that this transit kind of restricts you. And you feel like the energy, the spotlight, isn't on all the flirty, fun external stuff. The spotlight's on this really nurturing, deep, security-based energy. So, kind of just keeping that in mind, that there is going to be more of an intensity, more of an expansive energy placed on those very intention-oriented places. Now, if you have a project, if you have a creative venture, if you have a work project, if you have a home project, even though Capricorn isn't about the home necessarily, if you have a vision of something you want to bring to life that requires, steady, steadfast action, this transit is amazing for that. This is the kind of transit, sitting down and writing that book, sitting down and making that financial plan, sitting down and doing those investments. This is a transit that will really help you do some of those things that do feel a little bit more like they need structure, right? And like I said, Jupiter isn't as strong in Capricorn. And of course, we've been working with structured transits for a couple of years now because Saturn has been in Capricorn this whole time, doing its thing. And, Saturn is working its way out of Capricorn this year. In March, it's going to move to Aquarius, but guess what? It's going to retrograde back into Capricorn, and then we'll be leaving Capricorn finally at the end of 2020. So we're getting plenty of that Saturn structure energy in 2020. You'll be noticing both Jupiter and Saturn working quite closely in Capricorn, that we are redefining our relationship to structure and what structure means and what that paternal sense of dad structure really looks like. Because Jupiter is one form of dad. That's what I always say. And then like Capricorn and Saturn, it's another version of dad. These are all very masculine, paternal energies, and they want to get the ball rolling. They want things to happen. Jupiter's the dad who's going to like push you out the door and say, good luck, go going, go out there and try it, let's go. And, Saturn is the dad who wants to sit you down, make sure you're doing your homework, go over your skill sets in life, make sure it's all in order, give you a schedule, make sure you're in bed by 9. So these two masculine or paternal energies are really focused on shaping and molding and bettering, and they're both working in Capricorn, which is all about bringing it down here to the earthiest, real, physical environment. So yeah, it's a little of an uncomfortable transit in the sense that the dreaminess is getting pulled to an aspect of life that maybe we don't normally associate with dreaminess. But isn't that a revolutionary thing in and of itself? So that's really my take on this. It's quite simple. It's really quite simple. But like I said, because it's in a planet of or a placement of restriction, because Capricorn is about whittling down to the things that matter, the essentials, the heart, just kind of remember that it's all about that building. It's all about getting back to basics. But also, for those of you starting new relationships, new jobs, new life paths, this is one of those years where you will look back and you'll think, this was the year I really chose that section of my life. You know, this is the year I really chose that home, that environment, that relationship, that project, and you will see it blossom over the course of the year with consistent showing up. So it can be very benefic. Even in its fall, even Jupiter in its fall can be a very benefic transit. One other thing just to keep in mind is there is this retrograde that will be happening between May 14th and September 13th with Jupiter retrograde in Capricorn. And this is, you know, with retrogrades, Jupiter retrograde brings all that abundance internal. And this is going to be a time, those months where you can really heal your relationship to money energy, which is, you know, money is energy. You know, money is a shared concept that we have created as humanity. You know, it's a placeholder, it's an energetic exchange. And so our relationship to value and abundance and security are deeply tied to, you know, the way we feel about ourselves. So this Jupiter retrograde is going to very specifically tap into where you know, maybe have blockages with allowing money in, or where you feel unworthy, or where you feel you have pain or hurt when it comes to the financial systems that we have in this world right now, and how to kind of reconnect those pieces. And I think I will do a specific video on Jupiter retrograde when we get a little bit closer here, when we're getting closer to May. I will do a video that's just about energy blockages when it comes to money and abundance and the way we view our energy flows and our intake and our outtake. And how to kind of soothe into that, because that is one of those things. This is one of the parts of this Jupiter transit that may hit a little hard and be a little scary, but if you know that you're working on healing and nurturing this aspect, I think you can really benefit from it. And by the time Jupiter moves into Aquarius at the end of 2020, I think, you know, your relationship to structure and to money could have really deeply been healed and nurtured because of this transit. So it's deeply necessary. I think it's such a great time. I'm going to pull one card for this, just for the fun of it, from my mom's deck. Yeah, so ooh, there it goes. Queen of Pentacles, perfect. So yeah, you know, Queen of Pentacles is all about investment. It's all about nurturing. It's all about slowing down and looking at what you have. You know, she really values what she invests in, right? She really takes care of her material possessions. She takes care of what she invests in. She takes care in how she puts her energy into things. And, you know, because Capricorn is about, not just about being fast and loose and over optimistic, but is about, what do you really want to build? What do you really want to invest in? What's really working for you? It's an important part of the process. You know, we get all the ingredients and then we sift through and we take the core ones that we really want to take with us forward in life. And that is very much what I see going on here for Jupiter moving through Capricorn. It's all about healing and a deep commitment journey. Personally, I'm a Sag rising, but I have a ton of Capricorn in my first house just because of the way my rising hits. So I'm excited to see Jupiter continue to move through my first house into Capricorn and see how it all unfolds. There's a lot of big energy coming up, and this is one of the first transits, I think, that's kind of giving us a preview of what 2020 is going to have thematically and where there are going to be thematic things coming up. I keep rambling on here, but I just was thinking too, there are some theorists out there with the Jupiter going through Capricorn that say that this is often a time of financial strain and world markets having a little bit of difficulty. Now, I don't want to cause alarm to anybody, but I think when I'm going back to this whole idea of healing our relationship to this idea of energy and money energy and all of that, there is something to be said for Jupiter putting the spotlight, that expansive, dreamy, big lens spotlight on the Capricorn, on the earthbound, and figuring out how to rebalance and reconnect those two pieces. So it does come up as a theme on the larger cultural level as well, reevaluating our relationship to money and to what it means and what value it really has if it isn't facilitating greater sense of connectedness, community, health, well-being, and feeling nurtured and held. And so there's something deeper going on there as well. So on the individual and the community level, this can be a transit that does bring up uncomfortable topics. However, I think we need it right now, and I think the timing couldn't be more perfect. And then of course, we're not getting into it today, but Jupiter in Aquarius will then take this revolution to the next stage and will continue to change and transmute what we value and how we apply that in the physical world. I hope you guys enjoyed this Jupiter and Capricorn transit discussion. I'm so excited to hear what experiences you've been having with Jupiter and Sagittarius. Like I said, not always an easy transit. And what you're excited about with Jupiter moving into Capricorn and how you think that may be adding to your life. So please feel free to comment below, and I thank you all so much for being here with me on Patreon. It really means the world to me, and I love getting to share all this extra information with you here. So I am sending you all my blessings, my beautiful seekers, and I will see you very, very soon for more fun and magic. Mwah.